great inner cities where everyone's prosperous.
Right now on Politics Now, I sit down for a one-on-one with Donald Trump Jr. to talk about his father's campaign in Nevada and vision for the country.
It's not just about them trying to come in and buy this election away from Nevada voters.
Koch Brothers take center stage in Nevada's Senate race, how much money they've spent so far, and our face-off panel debates their influence and tactics.
It's definitely an election in which the negatives are at the forefront of voter opinions.
And we sit down with Face the Nation host John Dickerson to talk about voter opinions of the candidates and the theater behind running for president.
From 8 News Now, this is Politics Now with Steve Sebelius and Patrick Walker.
Donald Trump's campaign is starting to play catch-up in Nevada. Thanks for joining us. I'm Steve Sebelius.
And I'm Patrick Walker. His son, Donald Trump Jr., was in town campaigning for him this week. I sat down with him at the Trump International Hotel. This is a state that has, especially here in the South, very strong unions.
Yes.
For your father, he says he's doing well with unions. A couple of polls recently showing maybe not the case. Does he have ground to make up here, especially with a dispute, so to speak, a labor dispute here at this hotel?
Well, listen, I think generally speaking, we're doing great with unions across the country. Now, not the actual unions, because they've been bought and paid for. You know, the upper leadership is owned by the Democratic Party, and that's who's funding their beautiful family vacations and all this stuff. But honestly, the hardworking men and women, union labor around this country, I mean, I can't tell you the thousands of people that have come up to me along the trail being like, listen, we're union, we're being told where to vote, obviously not necessarily for Trump, but we're going and we're pulling a lever for Trump, because those are the people my father's been speaking to from day one. That's the people his message has been resonating with, bringing jobs back to this country, bringing that tax base that all the companies this administration has pushed out of the country, not letting them bring those funds back. You know, let's get that group back in this country. Let's get them working again. You know, if we had jobs, we'd solve so many of our problems. If the inner city youth, if Hispanic, African American, in general, you know, if those people had jobs, think of the problems we could solve. And that's what my father's message has been all along. So, you know, you're not going to have union leadership, but candidly, no one in political history has built more with unions than my father. We've had a great relationship with unions, you know, generally speaking, you know, throughout our history. So, you know, those guys, when I walk construction sites in New York, not our own jobs, others, I'm seeing Trump stickers all over the place. So I think we'll do really well with that blue-collar, hardworking American vote, because my father's been having a conversation with them for 18 months.
This is also a big Hispanic state, obviously. Yes. That makes up a big part of the electorate here. We saw he came here a couple of weeks ago to speak with some business leaders and Hispanic leaders in the community. The next week he went and spoke with the president of Mexico before kind of doubling down on his immigration stance in Phoenix. Some thought he was going to soften his stance somewhat. Is there a concern that maybe there's a dangling of the carrot out there to potential voters that maybe was pulled back?
No, I don't think so. I think, listen, he's been pretty forthright about that. Every time, you know, he asks the question, because again, he's having conversations with people. He wants to know what the Americans actually want to think. He's not speaking to them like other politicians, which is, we're going to lecture you and this is what you should be thinking and this is what we're going to tell you. He actually wants to know. You know, the media will jump on that and, you know, spin a question into a statement. You know, that's not what he's done. But again, he recognizes the issue. You know, illegal immigration has disproportionately affect, you know, the Hispanic community in this country. It's disproportionately affected the African American community in this country. Certainly, when it comes to African American youth unemployment in the inner cities, you know, those are the people who've been affected by illegal immigration. Those are the people whose jobs have been taken away. Those are the people whose wages have been undercut by illegal immigration. Now, that's not to say we're against immigration. There just has to be a way to do it right. I'm the son of an immigrant. My father is the son of an immigrant. We get it. But there has to be a process by which we do that. Once we take care of our own people, once we take care of Americans, then we can worry about everyone else. But we have to do that. We have to start thinking about these things. We don't have great inner cities where everyone's prosperous. Left-wing policies have really decimated those places. You know, if we can get those people back to work, we can educate those kids and give their kids an opportunity to get out from that vicious cycle of poverty and to have the same opportunities that I've been blessed to be able to have. I mean, that's our goal. Once we do that, once we can take care of those kids, once we can take care of our vets coming across, you know what, then we can worry about the rest of the world's problems. But I think we have to focus on America. And, you know, today you say that, oh, it's such a terrible thing. No, it's not. It's no different than when you're in an airplane and they say, hey, if we're going down, you got to put on your oxygen mask first. We have to take care of ourselves. Give yourself that oxygen and you can help everyone else around you.
We're looking at a large number of people that are between 11 and 12 million when you look at it. how realistic is that to say, okay, to give everybody the opportunity, they have to leave and then come back, starting with the criminal aliens? Obviously, it is a step-by-step process.
Well, I think the criminal side is very easy. I mean, we have sanctuary cities, and we have a prison system that just lets people out who are not from here. That they commit major felonies, they do their time, they come out, we just let them back out on the streets. Their own countries won't even accept them back, and we just take that like, okay, that's fine, that's great. We should just allow. It doesn't work that way. Now, there's obviously great people. Great people. We understand that, but there are also people who are great people who've gone through the process, who've spent years going through the process, who are then vested, who really feel strongly about America. And you can't just say, hey guys, guess what? You went through the process, right? Everyone else gets a free pass. It doesn't work that way. We have to be fair to everyone here, and we have to, again, be able to do that. So there has to be a way by which we do it legally.
You just touched on as well, you brought up the military. There has been support coming out, and then angst as well, both sides, for both Hillary Clinton and for your father. What does he need to do to shore up support and pull ahead with veterans and with the military?
Well, listen, I think he's doing very well with veterans. If you look at the polls, we're way ahead there. I think we had 88 either active or newly retired high-level military people come out for us the other day. You obviously have a couple bureaucrats that have become almost politicized in our military because we have a government and an administration that has changed the rules of engagement so much that generals aren't making decisions in the field anymore. Lawyers are for them in D.C. And I went to a high school that was a big feeder school to the Naval Academy. There was a big feeder to school to West Point. 25% of my graduating class went into the armed services. And when I talk to those guys, whether they be in the SEAL teams, whether they be fighter pilots, they can't get the gear they need. When they do have the gear and they have a target and they're in place, they're ready to go. They have to send back things. They get 4 hours later, they get an email back from a lawyer in D.C. Meanwhile, the situation's changed in that amount of time. We've really hamstrung our military from doing what they do best. We have the greatest men and women soldiers in the world, but we're not equipping them right anymore, and we're creating such a level of bureaucracy that they can't possibly function well.
For a lot of interviews, they would say, well, how important is our state in the campaign? In this case, it is important. It is one of the battleground states. So I will ask, how important is this state, and what are we going to see in the next 2 months?
Listen, it's a very important state. We know it well. We're invested here. We've created jobs here. We've put a lot of our own money into it before we were ever in politics. Hillary Clinton's been here. She spent tons of Goldman Sachs money fighting us here for months. We're just starting that. So the fact that we're tied right now before we've even started that major rollout is pretty amazing. And I think it goes to speak to my father's message of common sense and what the people here understand. And again, that's across all walks of life, whether it's African American, whether it's whites, whether it's Hispanics. People want to see a better life for their kids. We live in a country now where we're the first generation that wonders if our kids are going to have as many opportunities as the generation before us or what we had. And that's scary. That's not an America I want for my kids, and I have 5 of them.
You can catch that full interview online at LasVegasNow.com. Well, when you look at the polls, one of the biggest things that jumps out at people is that people just don't like the presidential candidates. Both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump have unfavorability numbers that often surpass their favorability numbers in the opinion polls.
Yeah, I asked author and Face the Nation host John Dickerson about that and about candidates who play dress up as they campaign for the job for real. It seems to me that if you divided the electorate between those two things you just mentioned, the affection for a candidate versus the aversion to the opponent, about 90% would be voting out of aversion rather than affiliation.
Yes, the numbers are quite strong. There was a poll out last week, I believe it was a Pew poll, that said 80% of the Trump voters were voting for Trump because they were scared about Hillary Clinton, and 62%, I believe, of Clinton voters were voting for her because they were scared about Donald Trump. So it's definitely an election in which the negatives are at the forefront of voter opinions.
Yeah. Now, Trump last week took a trip to Mexico. It wasn't exactly unprecedented. Mitt Romney went to Great Britain. Barack Obama went to Berlin. Trump's visit seemed to have a different kind of feel. It was a feel almost as if he was there freelancing foreign policy his particular way, as only Donald Trump can. Is that how is that playing in the race? Do you see that continuing to be an issue, or do you think that just goes away and we move on to the next news cycle?
Well, the event itself was an effort. as has been true, as you mentioned, with other candidates, these are acts of theater, and they are what is essentially happening is the candidate is there as the actor pretending to be president. And so since it is an act of pure theater, it's not anything that tells us about whether they can actually inhabit the job. It just tells us whether they can put on the costume. And so he was able to put on the costume, and there are a lot of voters, again, who are voting sometimes based purely on how pleasing the costume is. Barack Obama had a famous picture when he was running as senator sitting next to David Petraeus in a helicopter with sunglasses on, getting a briefing on the fly about the situation in Iraq. And that also was an effort to use theater to make people feel comfortable about a candidate and what they might be like as president. So it helped in some ways. But Donald Trump has to fight against something, which is that people who are evaluating him about whether he can be president have taken a lot of negative impressions based on the various other things he said, and even some of the things he continues to say that make people think that he's too risky to be president.
We also talked about Clinton's emails and trusting Trump with the nuclear trigger. You can watch Face the Nation every Sunday at 8:30 right here on your local election headquarters, 8 News Now.
Pouring money into the Senate race.
I would say this is very clever marketing on the part of the Republicans.
How much money the Koch brothers have spent on the Senate race and whether it's a good tactic. Next on Politics Now.
What are you doing? I'm looking for a lawyer, but with all these Bernstein lawyers, I don't know which to call.
The only lawyer I know and trust is Ed Bernstein. He's the one helping our community.
Enough said. Call Ed. EdBernstein.com. From outer space, no city shines brighter. But behind all the lights are the stories. The stories no other team is telling. The stories no other team can uncover. The stories no other team will touch. Every reporter, every day, bringing you the side of Las Vegas everyone else overlooks. 8 News Now, today and every day. We are the Valley's news leader.
Well, Stacy's school has started. What grade are you teaching this year?
Kindergarten, Dad.
Stacy, when I was in school, that was one of my favorite grades.
It should be, Dad. You took it twice.
Stacy!
At Jim Marsh Kia, our expansion sale is in full swing. Jim Marsh Kia must sell hundreds of new Kias now. Get 0% interest for 5.5 years. Buy a new Kia for only $99 per month. These new cars must be sold to make room for the hundreds of new Kias that have been shipped. We are stacking them deep and selling them cheap. And remember, if you don't drive here, you can't save here.
Stop monthly TV payments.
That's right, with Mr. Antenna.
Tired of paying for cable or satellite TV? Mr. Antenna is the answer. You get 45 local digital TV channels with the outdoor antenna. No monthly payments, just a one-time installation fee. Stop the circus of TV payments. Join a growing trend of people moving from pay TV. Get rid of the jumble. Call Mr. Antenna today. 608-1313.
When sorry is not enough. Enough said. Call Ed. EdBernstein.com. Welcome back to Politics Now.
Well, giant piles of money are being spent on the Senate race here in Nevada. In fact, through August, about $25 million has already been spent by candidates and outside groups.
So are outside dark money groups like the Koch brothers trying to buy Nevada's election, as Democrats allege? Put that question to our face-off panel, Battleborn Progress Executive Director Annette Magnus from the left, and KXNT radio host Alan Stock from the right. Well, the Democratic Party has started a big push talking about the Koch brothers backing all of the Republican candidates here in Nevada. So, Alan, I actually want to start with you on this. Are the Koch brothers buying the elections here in Nevada this year?
I think, the Koch brothers are spending a lot of money. George Soros is spending a lot of money. I think the Koch brothers have said, so you have a lot of money on both sides of the aisle being spent. The Koch brothers have said that they're going to be supporting the various races from U.S. Senate on down. And I think they're kind of staying out of the presidential race. So that's going to be up to Sheldon Adelson to see if he comes through with what he has said he would, $100 million, I believe, for Trump. And we'll see when that happens.
What do you think of the money that's pouring in?
Well, we actually did a press conference this week about the same thing, totally unrelated to what the Democrats are doing. And what we have found, the research that we did, there was a Think Progress article that came out late last week, and what we found is that if you look at the Koch brothers spending, it's about $6 million plus that they're planning on spending in just the U.S. Senate race here in Nevada. And then if you look at Joe Heck's spending, it's around the $2 million mark. But Catherine Cortez is already up around the same range as the Koch brothers, just for her alone. So if you look at it, it looks like, and it is the case, that the Koch brothers are doing Joe Heck's dirty work. They are paying for his election so he doesn't have to spend his money, and then later on in the election he can come in with the rest of his money. It's just funny to me that a sitting member of Congress isn't spending the money that they already have made. He has a ton of money in his war chest, and so he doesn't have to spend that money because the Koch brothers are doing it for him. We've seen the TV ads, they're already up on TV, and so I feel it's my responsibility to call attention to that, because there is a lot of money being spent in this race, and the Koch brothers disproportionately are trying to buy this election from Nevadans.
Well, I wouldn't say they're trying disproportionately buying it. I would say this is very clever marketing on the part of the Republicans, because I think you're right. I think that Heck is saving his money for down the road. And what's happening is, I know we're going to talk about another issue having to do with I think, question 1 and why money isn't being spent. And I think what's happening right now with the Senate race, though, is they're trying to get Heck and Catherine Cortez-Masto's name and burned into people's minds early, and all the other issues will come down the road. So I think you're right. I think that the Koch brothers are spending money and Catherine Cortez-Masto spending money, and I think Joe Heck is waiting until the very end, meaning the last few weeks, and then they're going to pour a ton of money in there. And by the way, I think so will the Democrats Reed's people on behalf of Catherine Cortez-Masto. I mean, we're going to be inundated. Obviously, media, I'm on the radio, you're on TV, loves this kind of stuff, but it's going to be like, oh, when is it going to be over already?
Pays the bills, yeah.
I think the real issue that we have, and the issue that we called attention to this week in our press conference, was the fact that it's not just about them trying to come in and buy this election away from Nevada voters. What we're calling attention to is the fact that they have a radical agenda. They want to, privatize unions. They want to do away with public education. All of these different things that we are adamantly opposed to in terms of issues. And we see Joe Heck falling right in line with the Koch brothers and their agenda. And that is where I have a problem with the fact that they're coming in, spending their money, so basically they can buy and sell politicians. So when they go back to D.C., they have them in their pocket, and Joe Heck will do whatever the Koch brothers want him to do.
Joe Heck has never come out to privatize all education, number one. Number two, he's never come out to also privatize or get rid of public education, never came out to privatize unions, never ever came out like that. And the fact that they are spending the money on him, he is still going to be his own guy. Harry Reid and others from the George Soros, people like that spending money on behalf of Catherine Cortez-Masto. Is she going to represent the hardcore, far left-wing view of George Soros because he's spending money too?
Well, you can also watch the debate over the presidential race, union support for and against Trump, and the polls getting tighter on LasVegasNow.com.
And as for that $25 million spent so far, the money hasn't been too far apart. About $13 million has been spent for Heck and $11 million for Catherine Cortez-Masto.
Well, moving forward or at a roadblock, I break down this week's meeting on a potential NFL stadium.
Plus, looking at the new laws being written in anticipation of recreational marijuana being legalized. Those stories next on Politics Now. Stay with us.
Read all about it. Rapid Cash drops rates on title loans, starting at just 7% per month or 84% APR. There's never been a better time for a Rapid Cash title loan, now as low as 7% per month.
Love that Rapid Cash.
The latest local news from 8 News Now is always at your fingertips with the News.Vegas app. Download it for free from the App Store today. News.Vegas is sponsored by your Southern Nevada Toyota dealers. See where Toyota takes you. Toyota, let's go places.
Want to sell fast? Go to WeBuyHouses.com. We'll buy any house in any condition. Get your no-obligation cash offer today. Call WeBuyHouses.com at 702-508-4500.
WeBuyHouses.com.
Heads,
you get big discounts. Tails, low prices. No matter if it's heads or tails, at Tobin Dodge, you get both. During the model year flip, all 16s must go as we flip to the new model year. New Ram 1500 Bighorn Crew Cab, 14 grand off. That's 25% off. New Ram 2500, 22.9. It's Ram Power Days. Ram 1500 Bighorn, 14 grand off. Ram 2500, 22.9.
That's Tobin Dodge in the Valley Auto Mall, #1 for a reason.
Rapid Cash is the name you can trust for delivering cash fast. Rapid Cash has competitive rates, fast, friendly service, and most importantly, they're state licensed. Relax. Rapid Cash has you covered.
Love that Rapid Cash.
Your exclusive Weather Now forecast, rated most accurate by Weather Rate. Every day with Sherry, Ted, and Katie on 8 News Now.
Monday on Good Day, most families are in a back-to-school routine. Part of that includes packing the lunch.
Yes, it does. The 5 things experts say parents should not let their kids eat at school.
Plus, the weekend still feels like summer, but eventually fall will take over. Changes coming Monday on Good Day.
You're watching Politics Now.
Today marks 15 years since the attacks of September 11th ushered in a new era in America, one born in smoke and fire. Will mark the day with memorials for the nearly 3,000 people who lost their lives that bright September morning, including 343 New York City firefighters and 60 police officers. We'll read the names of the lost so they're not forgotten, and we'll reflect on how things have changed since that terrible day. As we debate who should lead America, we should take a moment to recall those early hours after the towers fell, when we were neither Republicans nor Democrats, conservatives nor liberals, but Americans suffering together, mourning together, and resolving together that our great nation would not end in the rubble, but instead rise from the ashes. It's worth remembering every day, and not just on a solemn occasion, that there really is more that binds us than divides us. Patrick?
Steve, thank you very much. It's time now for The Race Now, where we go over some of the big local political stories of the week. Time winding down for a stadium proposal to make it in front of lawmakers ahead of January's NFL owners' meetings. To get there, the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Committee must give it the okay. The committee tackled what's in the proposed 25-page bill on Thursday. County Commission Chair Steve Sisolak expressed concern that taxpayers would foot the bill to pay off debt if the stadium cannot meet revenue goals. But after some assurances, he has thrown his tentative support in. Vice President of Sands, Andy Aboud, says a deal needs to be made in front of lawmakers. It needs to make it in front of lawmakers, rather, by the end of October. You believe it has to happen now? Do you think you have the votes to get it through in a special session?
I think that we'll have the votes to get it through in a special session. We don't take anyone for granted. We know that it's going to take 2/3 of the legislature. We're meeting with them, as many of them as we possibly can. Some people are always going to be a little bit skeptical.
Nevada lawmakers are already busy working on a slew of new regulations in case the recreational marijuana ballot initiative ends up passing. State Senators Tick Sagerbloom and Patricia Farley announced a proposed bill restricting the shape of edibles to squares so they can't resemble candy. They must also be in single, nondescript packaging in an effort to keep kids safe. It's something Farley says dispensaries are on board with.
They have been in conversations about the importance of this, and they're agreeing to start the practice now, even before the law has been passed.
And those behind Question 1, the gun background initiative check on the ballot, got a little more help this week. The AFL-CIO announced its support behind the initiative. The Federation of Labor Groups has about 200,000 members, and so far, Question 1 backers have released one ad. The NRA opened up an office here, but has not unleashed a volley of anti-background check ads as of yet. All right, so Steve, what's the reason we're not seeing that volley of the anti-Question 1 ads?
Well, I think part of it's fundraising. You have to have time to raise money, and another part is strategy. They're waiting until voters are focused on this race to make sure that their money is spent at the most effective time of the election.
Try not to get into that oversaturation pattern.
Yeah, people forget.
All right. Well, another one, rooftop solar, it's going to come back to the front burner. What's going on with that next week that could bring everyone's attention to the issue when Politics Now continues?
U.S. Gas, home of the 100% hand car wash, announces its newest location in North Las Vegas, providing the same conveniences as our Showtime Premier Auto Spa on South Jones and Tropicana. U.S. Gas has daily car wash specials featuring a loyalty program to save you big money. U.S. Gas not only has the lowest everyday gas prices, we also have a large convenience store with gaming. Windshield chip, we can expertly repair those pesky chipped windows too. U.S. Gas, Tropicana and Jones, and in North Las Vegas, we put the awesome into car washing.
Whether you're looking to add new beauty to your living room or you want to completely remodel your kitchen, Elite Flooring Plus has everything you desire. Carpet, hardwood, cabinets, countertops, and much more. All below wholesale prices. Looking to upgrade and not sure on a look? Our Custom Home Design Center will help you customize your perfect project. And right now, 8x36 wood look porcelain tile. Elite's price, $189 a square foot. Family owned and operated, Elite Flooring Plus. Conveniently located just off Tropicana and Eastern.
The world is getting more dangerous. Your home may not be as safe as you think. Trust Rollot & Rolling Shutters to protect your home, your business, and especially your family. Your windows alone can't stop burglars. You need the protection only Rollot & Rolling Shutters can provide. With durable construction and insulation, you'll be safe and secure while saving up to 60% off your energy bills. Learn how to get a free motor with purchase. Rollot now offers retractable awnings and exterior zip solar drops. Call 702-878-1072 for your peace of mind.
There was a time when we could trust our leaders. But today, politicians are only serving themselves, resulting in a rigged economy, weakened national security, and a divided nation. We need honest leaders. An Army Reserve Brigadier General, Joe Heck has served our country at home and abroad. Joe Heck fights for us, for better jobs, a safer nation, and a brighter future. Solve the problem. Send a soldier. Joe Heck.
I'm Joe Heck, and I approve this message.
On Saturday, Trump visited a black church in Detroit.
Donald Trump swaying to the music this weekend at an African-American church in Detroit, reaching out for new support.
No. You know what? I'm sorry. I've got to call out the media on this one. Donald Trump was not swaying to the music. He was swaying. And there happened to be music playing at the same time. The two happened completely independently of each other. That was not happening with the music. That was not with the music.
Oh my, that's exactly how I dance.
Yes.
So I'm not going to say anything.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't criticize Trump. That would be hypocritical.
All right, it's time now for What to Watch, where we tell you about the big stories making headlines next week. A giant solar conference is in town, and that means Nevada's net metering battle will be on the front burner. The Solar Energy Industries Association is pushing for new legislation to help rooftop solar industry, and they consider Nevada's back and forth to be the main battleground. And the Child Advocacy Alliance releases their annual report card next week. It includes a legislative report card on Nevada's children in the areas of education and recommendations on new laws. That comes out on Tuesday. We'll be watching that. Of course, we'll be covering a lot more of that next week.
Yep, plenty to do as we wind our way down to Election Day. Well, thanks for watching Politics Now. If you have questions or comments for us, you can email us at politics@lasvegasnow.com.
And as always, we are your local election headquarters all the way through the election and beyond. You can stay up to date online and watch us every Sunday right here on Channel 8. We'll see you next week.